I think you did talk to him about the fact that Casey had presented with mental health issues.
Yes.
And given your investigation, no surprise, probably there, right?
No.
And mentioned suicide, right?
We asked him if he thought she was suicidal, yes.
He mentioned that she had mentioned suicide to him. She had brought up the subject of suicide with him, right?
Yes.
Remember, because he referred her
Yes.
out
Mm-hmm.
for therapy that she did 3 times in 2023, I think it was, right?
Yes.
So you hadn't asked for any records about the history of Casey's involvement in her medical file from Mastiller. Did you seek any medical records from Epic?
No.
Dr. Epic? Dr. Epic was what, her kidney doctor, I think?
Yes.
Had you sought any records from her knee surgeon?
We did get records from him, but that was.
I mean, that's after Megan's charged, is my point, right?
I don't remember.
Meggan was charged and arrested on March 20th, 2025, right?
Yes, I don't remember when I interviewed Dr. West.
Okay. So,
That was just condition of the subpoena, that we would get the medical records.
and at the time she was arrested by you, that means charged, right? She was also charged that day
Yes.
with the present criminal allegations.
Yes.
You hadn't even gotten the fingerprints result for the syringe 2, right?
No,
You hadn't even gotten the DNA results from syringe 2.
I don't think so.
So as we started this, when Meggan exclaimed that she had certainly said and done things that made it, as you guys said, look really bad for her, the proof in the form of forensic evidence had not even been completed by the time you arrested her. Agreed?
Digital forensic evidence started that day, so I wouldn't agree with that.
Let's talk about that. You had all this data about all of the texting back and forth, right? That's what you mean by the digital forensics.
Are you talking about when we interviewed her or when we arrested her?
You arrested her.
We had that, yes.
You had in November completed this exhaustive review of all of the communications and the things that were spoken of and the topics that the prosecutor just addressed with you. You had completed that in November, right?
I don't know that it was complete. I mean, if it says Casey's phone was done, that doesn't mean I was done with Megan's. I'm not sure when I was done.
Okay, you have looked at Casey's phone interactions. You had finished going through Casey's phone interactions with Meggan November 18th, 2024, right?
Yes,
And we had already established that that was the nearly 200 pages of things that you typed in, correct?
like I said, I'm not sure when I was done with Megan's phone, so I don't feel comfortable agreeing with that. I was done with Casey's, it sounds like. I don't know what day I was done, I'm sorry.
All right. Now, Casey's phone didn't have any indications that it had deletions on it, right?
There was one.
Okay, there's one deletion out of those 28,000. My point I'm trying to get to is if you've got Casey's phone, you know all the interactions between Casey and Meggan in the form of this digital evidence that occurred, right? Unless they've been deleted from Casey's phone.
I'm not comfortable. I mean, yeah, when I was done with the investigation, I was done, but you're trying to pin me to a day and I don't.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to be really honest and not.
Yeah, when I was
Because
done, I was
I didn't
done.
write
I
your
don't want to
report.
pick a day. I don't know what day it
I
was.
don't want to write, I didn't write your report.
Yeah.
You wrote your report. That's what I pointed out, that you said you finished going through Casey's phone interactions
Right,
with Meggan, and you finished that on November 18th, 2024.
right, but that doesn't mean I didn't check back when I was cross-referencing Megan's phone. I guess I just don't feel comfortable with that. I'm sorry.
Didn't say you didn't do any more work with the phone.
Oh, well then, yes, I
Saying-
was done that day.
And I'm establishing what these massive volume of your report refers to. It refers to that work, right?
Yes,
All right, let's finish evidence. You never submitted the syringe that Mark found in that room for any forensic testing, did you?
no,
And I was gonna skip over, I almost missed some other evidence. We had learned about this event last December where more syringe evidence was found, right?
yes,
Right, let's unpack that a little bit. That syringe evidence was 3 empty syringes, right?
yes,
And one that was preloaded with insulin, right?
yes,
And what you learned was those existed in Kyle's room, what Mark thought a couple months after Casey's death.
after Kyle's death. He found them a couple months after Kyle's death in the desk.
You think he found them a couple months after Kyle's death?
That's what he
Yeah.
said, after Kyle's death, is my recollection.
Well, we can play that. So you're saying, then they would have been in there when Casey and Meggan were together on the 12th.
Yes,
So that you didn't search Kyle's room ever, right?
no, it was Mark's room at the time.
All right. And the date of your search, you didn't search that room.
No,
And it's your understanding and belief that those 3 syringes and the loaded syringe had been found by Mark in the room,
yes,
and certainly weren't Mark's.
no,
You learned that in December 30th, and you sent that, you thought it was of enough evidentiary value that you sent that to the crime lab as well, right? Sent 3 of those syringes, the empty ones, right?
yes,
And looking for fingerprints again, right?
yes,
And they couldn't find any.
no,
You did not send the preloaded syringe full of insulin with insulin in it. You didn't send that.
no,
I'm gonna object to knowledge that it was insulin in the syringe. There's been no indication that that's the case.
Can I follow up on that then? You never even tried to find out whether there was insulin in the syringe.
no, Mark told us it was insulin.
So you believe Mark, you took all of the circumstantial evidence and the things that Mark said and everything, and you didn't think you needed to test it for insulin because you believed it.
Yes,
It's an insulin syringe. You said you found that Kyle would preload these things, right?
yes,
And you didn't send it to the crime lab to see if it had any fingerprints, just the empty ones.
yes,
And the empty ones because those are things that could have been used,
yes,
could have been used by Casey.
yes,
Let me go to the subject. The subject, let's do the subjects that you went through with all of these text messages that were picked out of the mass of texting, okay?
okay,
Let's talk about the subject of insurance, I guess life insurance, okay?
okay,
that subject, I think we covered this a little bit, but that subject is pervasive between the two of them from the start of your text messaging investigation, right?
Yes,
And you saw that you learned in your investigation that Casey, also would talk to other people about that subject, right?
yes,
Like, we introduced even a text where she was talking, or no, Mark talked about the fact that Casey would talk about the insurance with Mark.
yes,
That Mark finally concluded that she would indicate to lots of people that she had life insurance policy and what they were the beneficiary, right?
yes,
Including Kylie, right?
yes,
Maybe connected is this subject that the prosecution developed in all these texts of Meggan and her finances, right?
yes,
And that's pervasive through these 4 to 5 years in the text too, right?
yes,
They talk about life sucks at times, right?
yes,
That she can eat beans was one of them because money was running low, right?
yes,
But some of those texts about, well, let's talk tires and car problems, right?
yes,
Child support that Mitch was paying for his other children, right?
yes,
Taxes, tax day is no fun. They talked about taxes, right?
yes,
This all happened periodically for 4 years, right?
yes,
In terms of, we testified to, and I think you testified directly to the fact that you thought that was relevant because of financial stress and what you believe in the government is charged, needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, that a motive of Meggan acting has to be proven that she acted and it was for financial gain, right?
yes,
So that's, as a feature of the case, you have to investigate that, right?
yes,
You understand that it has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
yes,
Your conclusions that you reached about it, at least as a police officer, are only from all this text messaging. Right?
yes,
You didn't use your ability to subpoena to look into her bank records, right?
no,
You didn't go speak to any employers at the time she was arrested in March, which is 7 or 8 months after the death, to learn about her work and what she was getting paid, right?
I did get records from her employer.
About the history. At that point in time that you arrested her, she had a job, right?
Yes,
She had started before August 12th, right?
yes,
She had 2 jobs, didn't she?
yes,
She also worked nights sometimes, as well as her full-time job teaching as a nurse, right?
are those the 2 jobs you're referring to?
Is that what you learned?
Yes,
But that's at the time of arrest. That's what I'm talking about.
yes,
right? And you hadn't ultimately investigated with any kind of forensic abilities that you have, like a subpoena, what her financial situation was, other than these periodic henny penny the sky is falling references in text to Casey. You didn't get any records.
I did get the employment records. I did not get bank records.
You didn't get any information by the way of interviewing to learn whether or not any significant financial distress was known to anyone else.
We did ask one of Megan's friends Yes.
Catherine Judd,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
A friend? You didn't talk to any family members about her financial situation, right?
I did not.
Although you had the opportunity, you talked to Lee, her father, and Renee, her mother, multiple times, correct? At least the government did.
The other sergeants did, yes. I don't remember if they asked about that or not.
You don't remember what the evidence is in relation to that thing that must be proven?
Not in regards to those 2 interviews, no.
Or anything else, no other interviews. As a case agent, you're not aware that you or anyone else did anything other than find out that she had these references over 5 years to wishing she had more money than she did, right?
Right.
And then of course, we all know that regardless of how things were going there, even at times, let's take this is interesting. The early text messages in here include references back and forth that suggest that Meggan and Casey actually had been together when Casey was attempting suicide, right?
Yes.
There'd be these times in these text messages where they'd say, Casey would say, I can't believe it didn't work last night, right?
Yes.
And the responses back and forth between Casey and Meggan provided inferential evidence that these events they were together during.
Yes.
So they're together during events that are about suicide, right?
Yes.
Again, we've heard the evidence, as unholy as it is, suicide and events about attempting suicide.
Yes.
As far back as 2020, when Casey lived with her.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit while we're on that. I'm sorry, I do tend to get tangential. I apologize. I get on a subject and I want to finish it if it leads to something else. Let's talk about this circumstance of Casey moving out. The evidence that you know of. That Casey moving out of Meggan's house back in roughly 2020, right?
Yes. I can look at my timeline. I don't know.
Look at it if you can, because I didn't put that in my time.
I have that she moved in May of 2020 and out in March of 2021.
Okay, so this March 2021 date that I'll fix on, because Kylie testified about it and told you about it as well, right? That-
Yes.
And in Kylie's version, Casey's triggering it by telling Kylie that she's afraid of Meggan's trying to poison her, right?
Yes.
By the way, as Casey would tell Kylie these things, Kylie would like send her DoorDash and stuff, right?
Yes. She would send her deliveries. Yes.
So Casey was getting something out of this claim that Meggan was poisoning her. She was getting Kylie to react, right?
Yes.
Getting attention from Kylie.
Yes.
We established that Casey Terry would seek attention anywhere she could get it. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Doctors, right?
Yes.
Friends,
Yes.
family, including Kylie, right?
Yes.
And obviously Meggan.
Yes.
Right? So this moving out thing, she would tell Kylie about the attempted poisoning, but we know from all the texts that in that time, she and Meggan are in this unholy suicide attempting situation, right? We know that Casey's talking about Meggan about the suicide, right?
We know they're talking about the insulin in the fridge.
We know, and using it for suicide.
Yes.
So we're already talking about insulin as a method of suicide, right?
Yes.
It is, there were maybe hundreds of text from Casey to Meggan about having tried it, right? Tried
Yes,
insulin as a
yes.
method. So all this suicide talk involves Casey saying she wants it to happen by insulin, right? They
discussed doing it, yes.
She keeps talking about living through it in the course of her wanting to die, and why didn't the Heavenly Father take me back? And some of that is attempts with insulin is the point.
Yes,
So while she's telling Kylie that she thinks she's getting poisoned, she's clearly engaged in this discussion about the purpose of using it as her own suicide.
yes,
Point is that Kylie, reacting to the lie, goes and moves her out when Megan's not. Meggan and Mitch have gone on a vacation or something, right?
her reacting to what Casey told her, yes.
Now let's talk about what life looks like for Casey after that. Around that same time, you learn that there are a few, as I think you referred to them, other lives that Casey is living with other people in other friend spheres. Is that fair?
Yes,
One is drug transactions, right?
yes,
She is getting heavily involved in a world of buying and selling, trading drugs, right?
yes,
And here is Casey somehow getting away with telling everybody she has cancer, right?
yes,
We already know all the way to the end. She has somehow managed to live a life and communicate in a way that she has succeeded in these cells of communications to making them believe it. Fair to say?
yes,
The other thing she was succeeding on is this life of drug addiction and buying and selling and trading pills, right?
yes,
Now, she had been in drug treatment before this period of time, right?
yes,
So she is, and the pills that she's involved with are her prescription medications, correct?
yes,
Also getting those benzos that she's not prescribed,
yes,
that the doctor wouldn't give her because he's given her so much pain pills, Dr. Maslow, right?
yes,
Christian is a name that is prominent, that she is a friend with and who is also doing that with her, correct?
yes,
Okay, so I want to talk about that life because as you report, that drug activity through the years continues to happen, right?
yes,
It continues to, I think at one point, you say, get increasingly aggressive towards the end of her life. Right?
I don't remember.
Look at 233, your report. I don't want to drag you through all of these tabs, so let me just select one. You look at page 233 of this report that I put in front of you, that massive stack of paper. The text messages that you typed in. On 233, you're describing something that is going on in July 8th, almost just a month before Casey's death, right?
Yes, I see that now.
At the bottom.
Yes,
Because as you go through here and you're reading these texts, you frequently are commenting on them and your investigation. Is that fair to say?
yes,
So what you would say is, while Casey is talking to Meggan about suicide, for instance, she's out with Michelle trying to buy pills from Ty and other people, right? That's not this one, but that's an example of the sort of commentary you would give in your report.
yes,
So right here, this is an example, right?
yes,
Part of what she's texting, a little higher up on the page, to refresh your recollection, is the subject of praying. She's texting this with Meggan. She's praying for death, right?
yes,
More of this and praying this. aspect of their agreement, pact, whatever we're going to call it, that is against their religion, right?
Yes,
That's also where she says, hey, don't worry, I'm deleting these messages, right?
yes,
And again, to keep it secret, confidential. They have a confederacy, right? That's a conclusion you can draw from these 5 years, can't you?
they didn't advertise what they were talking about, yes.
And then you're noting at the bottom, in the meantime, while talking to Meggan about praying for death, she is once again buying drugs from Thai and Christian, right?
Yes,
And this is where you characterize that this drug activity, and let me stop, we have established, haven't we, that prior to this July, that drug activity was prevalent almost daily, right?
I don't know about daily. I don't know
A
about that.
lot.
A lot.
Oh,
It was mostly when she ran out of her pills.
well, the Christian would ask for some. Do you remember, there's one where he's talking to her about snorting Xanax off of her dresser, and she had to pull the blinds?
I don't remember that one.
All right, at any rate, there's even talk in these texts that she has with her drug circle that they would go and literally meet at the pharmacy. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. I mean, there was a lot of drug activity.
And so, notwithstanding all this drug activity that's going on, you actually characterize it in the month before she dies. Casey is getting increasingly aggressive about getting pills, right?
Yes,
She's frustrated that drug dealers are taking too much time, right?
yes,
She wants it done right the second. She talks about that frustration, right?
yes,
Okay, and I was trying to be fair. Those are your words saying her drug activity with that cell of people is getting increasingly aggressive, right?
yes,
Month before she died.
yes,
Drug activity that is described all throughout these texts by Casey Terry is illegal, right?
yes,
It is also illegal to use someone else's money to buy it if you, for instance, launder it through a Venmo account. That's a crime. Do you know that? Bank fraud?
Are you asking me if that's what happened here, or what is the
We're going to
question?
establish that, but what I'm asking, if you agree that these are things that anyone would know are criminal,
Yes,
or criminal activity regarding her drug sale is getting increasingly aggressive, right?
her getting the drugs or wanting the drugs was getting aggressive, yes.
We want to stop now.
We can break for lunch. Thank you, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to break for lunch. Appreciate your attention and your efforts so far. Before you go, you are admonished by the court that it is your duty not to converse among yourselves or to converse with any other person on any subject of the trial, and it is your duty not to form or express an opinion thereon until the case is finally submitted to you. This includes no individual research on the parties, attorneys, or claims. I'd like to have you back at 1 o'clock. Have a good lunch.
All rise for the jury.
Counsel, anything else?
Addressing this notion of these different cells of Casey's life during these 4+ years that we're talking about, okay?
Okay,
And obviously one cell is this unholy discussion about suicide and insulin and everything else. That's the Meggan cell, right?
okay,
And then she had certainly her family cell. Let's just talk about Kylie alone for a sec, okay?
okay,
So you know from your investigation that she frequently lied, if not to everybody, to many people about Kylie being mean to her,
Yes.
abusive of her,
I don't know about abusive.
emotional abuse, I think.
I mean, mean.
Okay, she'd say that Kylie was mean. She would say she didn't like Kylie,
Yes.
and Kylie didn't like her.
I don't remember her saying that.
You don't remember that? Casey, you know her ex-husband, Casey?
Yes.
Remember interviewing Casey?
Yes.
You remember that Casey, when you interviewed him, would say that Casey with an EE, our Casey, would complain about the family and say that Kylie was mean to her?
That Kylie was mean to her. Yes.
And that she hated Kylie, or she disliked Kylie.
Yes.
And then, so there's another cell. There's somewhere she's playing her ex-husband, Casey Tanner. She's communicating with him about her life, right?
Yes.
And telling him untruths, false things, right?
Yes.
He's quite a character, isn't he?
Yes.
He'd say he didn't believe her, but he'd give her the money anyway. He married her for so she could have insurance at one point in time, right? For a
Yes.
short period of time. Oh, by the way, she had said something about having a child in the text that she communicated to Meggan that died. Remember that?
No, I remember Meggan telling us that in an interview. I didn't see any text about that.
You didn't? Did you?
I don't remember. Maybe there were some.
Okay. By the way, if she told anybody that she had a child that died, that was false, right?
Yes.
And so we have that cell. And now I want to go back to this friend cell that we were talking about for a minute that had to do with her drug activity, okay?
Okay.
And this can we agree that it was rather extraordinary that she could lie about cancer to all these people and get believed?
Yes.
And is it fair to infer that she would also know that someday this was going to come crumbling down? Someday she'd get caught within the lie.
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't think you can infer that?
No, she got it going for quite a while.
So she can't infer that she'd never thought in the back of her mind, this is going to come crushing down. Someday I'm going to get caught.
I don't know what she was thinking.
Well, you were using these texts to try to figure out and reach conclusions about people's intent and what they were doing, right? That's part of your job as a police officer, isn't it?
Yes.
Move on. Then one thing that Casey was able to really facilitate and with all these lies and stuff was getting out of Meggan's house, right?
Yes.
Because can we agree with the inference that she's more likely to get caught in lies if she's living with Meggan?
Get caught in what lies? The same lies she's
Drugs? Get caught in her drug activity?
get caught by whom?
By Meggan or her husband, who she's living with?
I guess so.
And other activities she's lying about doing?
I mean, I don't know that Meggan was checking on her all the time to catch her and things. I don't really have an answer for that. I don't know.
So these daily texts back and forth.
Yeah, I don't
Just
know.
strike that. One thing she did enjoy by getting out of Meggan's house is this isolated place that she got to live in the later years at Mark's house, right?
Isolated?
Well, that room's isolated. Mark's never even been in there. Did you hear that? Hardly.
No, he's not in there.
Really? You didn't hear him say that you really never went in Casey's room when she lived there?
Yeah, he said he didn't go in there often, but I mean, he's been in there. Yeah, I mean, they all live downstairs together, she and Mark.
You're-
So, I mean, I don't know the isolated. I guess I don't understand the question.
I'm asking you about, as an investigator and everything, about whether or not it was clear that she was able to be in a position where she could come and go without really anyone knowing what was happening, right?
Yeah.
Engage in having things brought to the house or whatever, medical supplies, and still fooling Mark about whether she had cancer, right?
Yes.
She's living with him, and I don't know, did we get to the point where you agreed that you heard that Mark claimed to believe that she was on hospice?
In the past, he had, yes.
Clearly about chemo treatments?
Yes.
She could do all that because no one was really paying attention to her living situation at that residence, right?
I don't know.
Well, she engaged in a robust drug transaction history with plenty of friends, including having them bring her pills, right?
Yes.
She went and met them out on the patio and did it.
Yes.
She did this for years.
Yes.
As you said, it was escalating.
Yes.
Don't you think that it helped her situation in doing all that to be in that living circumstance of a room downstairs with its own entry?
I really
That's
don't
what she was
know.
doing.
I mean, Mark knew her friends were coming and going. So it's, I mean, he didn't know what they were doing, but he saw them come and go.
When attendant to the drug activity that we've established that you described as getting more aggressive, she was using her grandparents' Venmo or grandparents' credit cards and financial circumstance to give money and receive money from those people like Christian in her drug circle, right?
Yes, she was.
All right. So she was able, because of her connection to her grandparents, to rope in the use of their financial cards, as you just said, in connection with her more aggressive drug activity, correct?
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure where we were going with the state's position on what she was doing with those cards, but let's discuss it for a minute. I mean, do you remember that call that we played in open court where you're interviewing Meggan and you get the call from Mark?
Yes.
So that was the first interview with Meggan was the 19th? What was it?
15th.
15th. Sorry.
16th.
So within a couple of days, you're interviewing Meggan, and that's that call where Mark is calling about saying, hey, it looks like there's financial stuff going on with my grandparents.
Yes.
Right? And we played in open court, but that's the one he said, if she thought we were going to find out, it would wipe her out.
Yes.
Right? And then he described on the witness stand that what that meant was mentally, like what it would mean to her and the family.
Yes.
Okay. And he even said he needed to tell you that because a recent meeting in their house was, he thought, very well could have been overheard, and Casey would have known that they were looking into it, right?
Yes.
And he specifically said, because it would wipe her out, well, I don't know if he said it in that call. You know, and heard in open court, that even as in trial preparation for this case, Mark was open and honest and candid that he thought that could cause her to commit suicide, right?
Object to the characterization of the credibility.
Sure, I understand that objection.
Overruled. I'll allow it.
You heard Mark. You heard in,
I did. I don't remember him saying that specifically, but I heard him up here. Yes.
he continued in trial preparation to tell the state of Utah, not only about the theft stuff, but that that it could have, I think the words are, could have given Casey a motive to commit suicide. Remember that?
In trial prep?
Yeah, in trial, he admitted he told the prosecutors that weeks
Okay.
ago.
If that's what he said, I honestly don't remember. I apologize.
Oh,
P.
we'll get fined for every time we get that wrong. I'm going to show you defendant's exhibit P, okay? You recognize what that is?
Is it the APS report? I think it's the APS report.
APS is Adult Protective Services, correct?
Yes.
You had made some reference on direct examination to Adult Protective Services
Yes.
being an investigative agency whose purpose is to investigate whether or not it's substantiated that theft occurred, right?
Yes.
They move for admission of defendants O.
Did you say no objection?
No objection, Judge.
Thank you.
This says P on here.
P.
Court received defendant's exhibit P.
All right. Let's continue to fill this picture out, because remember when Mark was calling you, you were already on to the fact that you had found evidence of the financial fraud, right?
Yes.
You had found bank statements that you would characterize to Mark and Kay were probably intercepted by Casey and found in a room, right?
No. I found credit card statements, not bank statements.
Okay, sorry. I don't see the legitimacy. But credit card statements that were evidence that Casey was intercepting the mail to perpetuate her continuing fraud, right?
Yes.
By the way, this fraud, according to the report, ended up being $68,000, right?
That's what she said. The information I had didn't match that, but that's what she came to. I didn't have all the information she had.
You weren't involved in doing the investigation. APS was, right?
Correct.
So what APS, the people who investigated, said it was about $68,000. Can we
Yes.
agree on that? And also when you, I think, tell me if I'm right about this, I'm working on memory. When you searched her car, you found further documents that would indicate she was intercepting mail to perpetuate the fraud.
We found medical bills for her.
At the end of, as this transpired, you would talk to Mark and Kay, especially, I'm not sure how much Kylie, about this theft and what could be done about it, right?
I talked to Mark.
Well, do you remember on the 19th, you're downstairs, Kylie's there, Kay's there, Mark's there. and
Oh,
you're-
yeah, Kay was there.
You're explaining to them that they should use your police investigation report when they tried to see if the banks could recover some money for them.
Yes, he needed a case number.
So, I mean, you wouldn't have done that unless you thought that the theft was real, right? You wouldn't help them try to get money back from a bank unless you thought the theft was real.
That's an interesting question because oftentimes we do get called for a case number for frauds that we don't investigate.
Maybe we'll end up having to play it. You didn't ever suggest to them that you questioned whatsoever that
No.
this. And did you hear Mark testify, or in the course of discussing things with him, that in fact, this theft was ramping up?
Yes,
So we've got drug activity ramping up. We've got theft and fraud against the parents ramping up towards the end of Casey's life, right?
for grandparents, yes.
Grandparents. I did that even with Mark. Appreciate it. And as we, I think, just established, they would be connected in terms of the bank records because the theft activity was in many ways connected to the drug activity. Venmo accounts and things like that.
Yes,
The Cabela's card.
yes,
That's the statement you found in the car, right?
in her room.
That's in her room.
Mhm.
So this stuff, drug activity is escalating, theft activity is escalating. And Mark agrees that she may have been turned on to that she was going to get caught within a week before the 12th. Do I have that right?
Yes,
I guess my point is that if she gets caught on the theft, she's going to get caught on the drugs. Think that's a reasonable likelihood? You follow?
charges were through Venmo. I don't know that she would have had to say what they were for.
You interviewed Michelle eventually because she was part of it, because she's getting the money from Venmo too, right?
I think so.
It wouldn't have taken a lot of police work to connect the theft activity to the drug activity. You talked about it in your report.
I thought you were saying Mark would make that conclusion.
Oh, I'm sorry, no cops. This person is about to get caught, maybe, and maybe knew it according to Mark, committing drug offenses and theft offenses against her grandparents that had gone over time, all of which was escalating up to the point of August 12th. Can we agree on that?
Yes,
Let me move to the subject of this glucometer evidence.
And it's 10, it's on there.
It's on there? It's on there. It's small. All right, so we have this exhibit 10, and this is the glucometer evidence that was ultimately obtained by that glucometer that sort of stayed with Mark for a number of months and then was retrieved and reviewed on January 30th, right?
yes,
And the chart, this chart gets made by, I don't know if you made it, but
I made
you made the chart.
the data, not the chart. But yeah.
No, the data comes from.
Well, I wrote it all down and someone else made the chart.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's it, my own. So, but the point is here's these glucometer readings and when it says actual time, I think we established that's because there's a little bit of time difference between the monitor
yes,
and the actual time means this is the time of day on the 12th. right?
yes.
And these go through these, and I want to talk a little bit about what this meant to you. Because, I mean, you didn't even realize until last July when I was questioning you that this 9/18 is before Meggan ever arrived.
I realized that.
Okay, so that's true, right?
Yes,
9/18. So this is evidence that Casey set up, collected, somehow managed to get the glucometer into play, and was the one who was prepared to engage in whatever suicide, attempt to suicide, fake suicide. She's the one who set up the circumstance, right? Don't you agree?
Yes. yes, I do.
And took a reading.
Yes,
And you, back to the medical evidence, heard Dr. Masteller say, from all the medical evidence as far as he could tell, including his records on Casey's medical records, these numbers and this activity could have occurred. It's extraordinarily difficult to pinpoint when insulin went into Casey's body. Is that fair?
yes,
And as a matter of fact, Masteller, this is the one in the chart that I used with him, looking at evidence, where he admitted even prior to 9/18, the ingestion of insulin could have resulted in the numbers that we see here. You heard him say that, right?
yes,
Diane Allred, she treated, we heard from her, right? That she's the nurse at the hospital.
yes,
She treated Casey after she went to the hospital on the 12th, right?
Yes,
You heard all about how she step by step was on the ball, knew all about what happened at the hospital, knew all the numbers, had a lot of experience with insulin and glucose and things like that, right?
yes.
She also said that you can't tell from what she knew, she said, when Casey might have gotten.
Objection, Diane Allred didn't talk about the chart.
No, I didn't use the chart.
Sustained as to the objection that Diane Allred used the chart.
I don't know if I said that, but I didn't mean you to say you chart. You heard Diane Allred testify about her observations of Casey, the glucose monitoring and everything else and what was done at the hospital, right?
Yes.
And admit that with all that knowledge, it would be very difficult to tell when exogenous insulin went into Casey to cause what she saw, right?
I remember Mass Miller saying that. I don't remember her saying that
You don't
specifically.
remember, Diane, when I said, and it could have been before 9 o'clock in the morning, and she said yes?
I don't remember that.
All right, so we have this glucometer. I've already introduced to you basically the script, everything that was talked about in text setting up this event. And we have.
You mean this? I?
Yep, and as an
Yes.
investigative, you're the investigator, you're the detective, clearly showing that Casey is setting up the circumstance of using the glucometer.
Yes.
Only reason to use the glucometer is if you're going to test blood for sugar.
Yep.
Casey would have known that. You know that from the history of being in the family.
Yes.
She was issued her own glucometer by Mass Teller. We learned that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Casey's got that set up before Meggan ever gets there, right?
Yes.
Now, Casey had searched about and talked about preloading syringes in those text messages, which I'm calling the script, the plan for what's going to happen when Meggan gets there, right?
Yes.
So she's talking about kind of setting up a scene in that regard, right? Setting up preloaded syringes.
Yes.
She even talks about syringes she could use with her port, right?
Yes.
She never talks about a glucometer, does she?
No.
When Meggan gets there, it's fair to assume that she is now being introduced to the setting where Casey has a glucometer, has already tested her blood, and has indicated to her that she's going to engage in ingesting insulin.
Yes.
And insulin syringes are found in the room,
Yes.
in the trash, in the Fanta box, where Casey puts her garbage.
Yes.
And everything Casey's talking about is suicide.
Yes.
I want to turn to a subject, and I think we'll see if you agree with me, can really sort of, is featured in a way in the second time you have contact with Meggan, okay? I think that was the 21st. And if you've got an outline, I get these wrong.
I think it's the 21st. I think you're right. I can look.
Let's talk about the turquoise box. Because what Meggan, well, what everybody, I mean, even Mark and Kylie talked about the fact that they understood that Casey kept things in that turquoise box of interest. Fair to say?
Yes.
So now Meggan even said that her understanding is what things like power of attorney or DNAs and things like that might be a place she would keep it.
The DNR. Yes.
DNR. And or somewhere like a binder. At one point, Meggan had said, like, I thought maybe there would be a binder. I looked around and didn't see any binder.
Yes.
And again, I'm reminded that turquoise box, one time, Casey took a picture of it and texted it to Meggan, right?
Yes.
You remember when that was?
Do I remember when it was? No. It was a long time before. I think it was 2020. I think
That was way back.
it was way back.
Okay, so this turquoise box is represented to Meggan for years about where things would be, right?
Yes.
Well, you don't know what she told Meggan about what would be in there. But one thing you learned was she said letters that Meggan should open and read when Casey died.
Yes.
Other items, and of course, you don't know for your investigation if this Casey showed things that would be in there and then destroyed them, right?
Right.
But the box didn't have a DNR in it, right?
Correct.
Or these, we saw in Jorgensen's video when I was playing it, Jorgensen's of Robinson.
Yes.
We're talking a little bit about that because, I mean, in Jorgensen's video, Robinson's taking pictures, right?
Yeah, I believe he took a picture of something.
It just got lost, right?
Yeah.
But I think that we're agreeing now, tell me investigatively if you agree, that what he took was a picture of an envelope. Well, he testified, an envelope with Meggan Sundwall's name on it, right?
Yes, that's what he said.
Ultimately, you found that envelope, right?
Yes,
But you didn't find anything in it when you found it, right?
correct. It was empty.
That turquoise box was gone through between Casey being taken out of that room and you searching on the 14th, right?
Wait, tell me the question again. Sorry.
On the 12th, she goes to the hospital.
Yes,
Then we've already established that at some point on the 13th, you sealed it off with Mark. That was when
yes,
the glucometer was shown.
yes,
You put the tape
yes,
on the tape on the door to seal the crime scene, right?
yes,
Except for Mark needed to go in and get some.
Right.
Seems like a pretty upstanding guy. I'm not going to go whatever with him, but so you had to split the tape and then you had to put back together. But the point is that when you go back in the next day on the 14th to do your search, right?
yes.
It doesn't look anything like it did when Osborne, Jorgensen, and Robinson left.
No, there were 2 totes on the bed.
Well, the turquoise box is on the bed.
Yeah, that's what the turquoise box and a tote were on the bed.
Now you were here and we saw the video where Osborne takes the turquoise box and puts it on the floor in front of the
Yes,
closet, right?
yes,
But when you come in the room on the 14th, it's up on the bed.
yes,
Is it open? We'll see it in a minute from your body camera. And then there's these totes and stuff up there.
yes,
And you go through and do your best to determine what in all that paperwork and what in all that stuff would be of interest to you.
yes,
Right? And,
yes,
And ultimately, I asked you to scan it all in last July and you did, right?
yes,
But in between, you being at the hospital for the first time, and then in between you going in with Mark to seal it off, and your 14th search, 814 search, family members had gone through that box, right?
yes,
And family members had gone through that box specifically in reference to items that might be for Meggan, right?
they were looking for the DNR, was my understanding.
Well, we're going to then get to the interview you did, because what happened is you learned in the interview with Mark Kay and Kylie. Thank you. Did you get my exhibit numbers right for me too? In that interview, they actually huddled over a text from Casey to Kylie. Do you remember that?
I think I was out of the room for that.
Bingo. They did it when you were out of the room. You didn't even know at the time that they were huddling and looking at a text. And it was a text that Kylie was showing to her other family members, right?
Yes,
A text that she said Casey had sent her.
yes,
And Casey was telling Kylie not to give certain things like my letters to Casey. Don't give them to her, right?
yes.
Okay, so we now
To
know.
Meggan?
Excuse me? To
Yes,
Meggan.
Meggan. Yeah. Yes.
All right, let's try water.
Can I get a water?
Let's play it.
We'll get you some.
Thanks. Sorry.
You need water.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's not a water friendly building. Get up. I'm going to tee up for your reference, and I'm going to ask you if you agree that I've got it right. The interview that you did with the 3 of them all together, that's on this subject.
Okay.
And it might have been some time since you reviewed that. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, because this might help. But as we're doing that, I'll still ask you some questions. You do remember the point is that they are talking about supposedly Casey's desire for them to take documents and not give them to Meggan, right?
I remember her saying something about not giving Meggan something.
And they're doing that because now we've got Casey. This Casey is texting her sister to do something. Now, she had told and even sent a picture to Meggan that she had things for Meggan to look at after Casey died.
Yes.
just for the witness, and we'll just put it on and pause it so she can identify.
I saw that, yes.
You saw it well enough. This is the camera in the interview room that you use, right?
Yes.
That's Mark on the left, Kylie in the middle, and Kay on the right, correct?
Yes.
This is the first formal interview. Is that fair to call it? First formal interview?
Yeah, it's the first time I met them, yes.
Well, is it the first time you met him?
Mhm.
Okay. Because you had been at the hospital, but you were just trying to get the blood.
No, this was the morning after the 12th. This was the morning of the 13th.
Okay, so this is sort of the first thing you did.
Yes.
And I want to just play this to show on the subject of doing things in that box and keeping them away from Meggan. Oh, this is for illustrative purposes. I'm not necessarily seeking to send it back as an exhibit. Does the state have any objection to me playing this portion?
Ms. Thomas,
Yeah, sorry, Judge. No, we don't have any objection.
all right, we can play it.
And play it in the published form.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Yeah, almost 50.
Okay. Let me go see if my sergeant's been watching this. Because he
Can you
might
pause it real quick?
Okay. Might not be.
We started right at almost 50. She's looking at her phone to look for text evidence, right? You recall that?
It looks like it. Yes.
Do you remember it? I mean, I can
No,
back it up.
I don't
if you want. You heard her say about 50? Anyway, you did have her look, let's do it this way. You did have her look for evidence in the form of Casey texts to her, right?
Yes.
And then you left the room, so you didn't see this part.
Okay.
So there's somebody behind that mirror right there. Tell it to me. Yeah, I don't get how, I mean, I was in the kitchen downstairs yesterday making my breakfast shake. And Casey came out. She was better than I'd seen her since before the knee replacement. And she let the dirty dishes pile up in the sink and it started to stink. And I told her, that stinks. You need to get that cleaned up. She stood there next to me at the sink and did the dishes while I did my shake. And she just seemed better than she had been for a long time.
She called me on my birthday. And I hadn't talked to her for a while since before that.
Yeah, and she was talking about being able to get back, to work, doing the surveys and everything.
So Casey wrote this. I just hate talking about this shit because it gives me anxiety because I'm scared of dying and I'm sick and I need to just come to terms with it. But they put me on hospice 4 years ago and I'm still here. All it's done is affect my mental health and it makes me feel like I'm in prison.
I just want to make sure here that we understand this is Casey talking to Kylie, right?
Yes.
Kylie's reading a text from Casey to Kylie.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe that was perfectly clear, but
I'm losing my mind. And that's why it's hard to talk to Meggan because that's all she ever wants to talk about. I miss our friendship when we would go hang out and play and go shopping and do fun things and talk about normal stuff. And every time I try to talk about normal stuff, it's all about me being sick. And I'll ask her questions about how she's doing, about her life, and it's like she doesn't even respond. She just goes back to how I'm feeling and what's going on with my health.
Well, those papers that have in Casey's handwriting, Meggan as the beneficiary on her life insurance, they're going to want to see those.
Mm-hmm.
Stop
I don't
right
have
here.
I don't have the paper.
So at that point in time, Mark is describing some papers already, right?
Yes.
This is the first time you've seen him and met these people, and they're already talking about papers that were in the turquoise box, right?
Yes.
Because when she changed it over, she took a picture and sent it to me, and I can't find it. That it had been changed. Megan kept wanting to come over and she's like, I don't know what to do. And then she said, Megan then texted me and I didn't say anything back. And she said, if you want to respond with, hey, sorry, couldn't text you earlier. Let's see. I was super busy at work, and then just say, I have no idea where Casey's plans are for her funeral. I don't know if she ever went and changed it to be cremated. I just don't want you to tell her that I've been lying to her, or you can just let it be and not respond.
Okay, stop
Who was
there.
that? Was that from Megan?
That's Casey telling Kylie not to tell Megan about lies, right?
About what?
About lies that she's been lying to her.
Yes.
Watching Casey.
Oh.
And she says, just so you know. Okay, but I said, if she won't stop texting me, then I will respond that we talked about it and I know your wishes and that we will take care of it when the time comes. But she wants to be a part of the funeral too, which I'm okay with. She just doesn't get any money or letters that I wrote to her. So don't say you'll take care of it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just say, I went to the funeral home and already made arrangements, but if I want to be cremated, I should probably go down there and change it. Would you come with me to do that so we can pick out jewelry? And then I would need to let them know that I'm going to have the city open up my mom and dad and put the rest of my ashes in with them, because when I arranged the funeral, I didn't have a plot yet, and I was supposed to get back to them.
That's one question in Alpine.
Okay, you can stop.
Those plots in
So in the things that Casey is texting to Kylie includes telling Kylie that she would like to make sure that Megan doesn't get the letters and things. That's what you heard, right?
Yes.
And your understanding from the text and everything else were letters that would be in the turquoise box, right?
Yes.
Let's switch over and go to. Now, we already saw on Jorgensen's camera that turquoise box was on the floor by the closet when they left the room and told Mark, don't let anyone go in there, right?
Yes.
And as you've already acknowledged, when you search it on the 14th and walk in there, people have been in there,
Yes.
including in the turquoise box.
Yes, I assume so. It was on the bed.
And the letters and the envelope addressed to Megan is empty.
Yes.
Matter of fact, and when on the second time you talked to Megan, she came over to the police station, right?
She came to the attorney's,
I'm
the
sorry,
Utah
U.S.
County
Attorney's
Attorney's
office. She went into a room where you could record.
Yes.
The exhibit that the jury has is actually not from the recording or the video audio that was in the room, but from your handheld, right?
Yes.
On that subject real quick, why do you call it a handheld recorder?
Because you hold it in your hand.
But it doesn't sound like you ever used it in your hand. Didn't you put it in a pocket or something?
It was usually either sitting on my my pad folio or in my pocket.
Okay, let's talk about the pocket, because the jury's going to hear a recording that's all ruffled and rustled. You would put the recorder in a place that nobody could see it, right?
Yeah, I guess it was in a pocket.
And that's what you did when you first talked to Megan, right?
Yes.
You did, even though you were in a room that records, when Megan came to ask the questions in the interview too, right?
I don't know where I had it every time, if that's what you're asking. I had it every time. I don't know where I put it.
Yeah. Why didn't you use a body cam for any of that?
Because my body camera is on my my body armor.
Well, but it's your policy to, when you're doing any of this stuff, to use your body camera, right?
If you're on patrol, yes. If you're an investigator, you can use your handheld.
Your own policy in Lone Peak Police Department, portable audio video recorders, policy number 449, you're aware of it, right?
Yes.
Policy doesn't make any exceptions for detective work versus police work, does it?
There's a portion in there that talks about carrying your recorder with you if you're, I thought it was an investigative, but I don't know the wording. I'd have to look at it.
I want to be fair. Q. I'll show you what I'm marking as defendant's Q. Yeah, no, that's something. Instead of sort of going through your policy with you, back and forth here, I'm just going to show you something and ask if you recognize it as a Lone Peak Police Department policy regarding audio, video, and portable.
Am I allowed to show you where it states I can use a handheld
You're
or?
just going to have it. I'm about to admit it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Does that look right? No, they're not going to see the top part because the prosecutors emailed it to me and it has their email address. So before it goes back to the jury, we're going to redact those. But below that is the related policies, correct?
Yep.
Move for admission of Q.
Court received defendant's Q.
All right, let's just get back on track if we can with Megan coming over. And when she comes over, she's saying, and the jury's going to hear it. They've got the recording. She's saying, hey, the family, she's upset, right? Because she thinks that Kylie and the family are keeping things from her. Is that fair?
Yes.
She's asking if you guys can intercede, whether you could help.
Yes.
And what she wants is the things that she feels Kylie or Casey said she wanted her to have, right?
Yes.
Things from the turquoise box,
Yes.
letters.
Yes.
That's when you say, and you use the plural, you say, we found envelopes, but they didn't have any letters in them. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there were multiple empty envelopes in there, just one addressed to Megan.
Okay.
Well, with her name on it.
With her one envelope with her name on it, we saw all that through Robinson, right?
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes.
And so she's upset about that. Now let's go to what she was upset about that, right?
Yes.
The same meeting you told her for the first time that Casey'd been lying forever about cancer.
Yes.
I'm going to show you your body cam because you did wear the body cam during searches, right?
Yes, with my body armor, yes.
Is it your testimony that you own that camera only attaches to body armor?
No.
Okay, when you brought up body armor and said you didn't use it when you were investigating, I didn't know if there was a reason. Like when you're doing detective work,
Yeah, I just use my handheld.
you can use a camera, though, is my point, right?
I mean, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to just to the witness right now, see if you recognize this as your own body camera walking into the room on the 14th to search. Blinking. Now these numbers at the bottom, and just to make sure we understand, these numbers at the bottom are upside down because you wore your body camera upside down, right?
Yeah, it falls off easily. So when you put it back on, yes, that's upside down.
But that was true of all the body camera you submitted, right?
Yes.
Right. I want to play what the room looks like when you walk in.
All right. Hey, we've got this. Sorry if I leave remnants here on your board. This is.
You can just open it up, I'll scrape that stuff off.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all sweating.
Right, stop. We just saw a walkthrough. There are multiple bins on the bed. The turquoise box is on there and it's open, right?
Yes.
So to run through it again, Osborne puts it on the floor, leaves. You have an interview with the family during which they're talking about Casey's desire to remove documents and not give Megan certain things, right?
Yes.
You know that they've been there in the intervening period. You testified about that, right? Before the 14th, they'd been in the room.
Yes.
And now you walk in and it's clear that among the things that are in the room that are open, almost tossed, include the turquoise box, right?
It is open. Yes.
Okay, we can take that down.
Gotcha.
Let's move to a grander sort of subject here. You kind of started it, describing the investigation as suicide, or what you call assisted suicide, it's called aiding suicide, right? That's the law, called aiding suicide. I don't want to get technical, but there's a law and it's about aiding suicide, right?
Yes,
And I want to bring that up because the state's already admitted recordings with an interview with Meggan that you and Special Agent Hales are talking to Meggan about her liabilities and that you can't help someone and that you can't do something, et cetera, in connection with their suicide, right?
yes,
That's what you meant by assisted suicide?
yes,
So is it fair to say that in describing it, you would be interchangeable between aiding suicide and assisting suicide, meaning same thing when you bring those up?
yes,
And you've already established that you know as a peace officer that there's no law that requires somebody to stop someone from committing suicide.
correct.
So you're investigating, you said, in this case, in relation to, let's say, suicide for a minute. It's clear right through this trial that the state is putting on and you are available to put on all sorts of evidence that suggests that Casey wouldn't be committing suicide, right?
Can you ask that again?
Evidence about Casey that she wasn't attempting suicide, that she wouldn't be someone who was going to attempt suicide that night, right?
I have evidence that she wasn't attempting suicide that night?
Yeah, don't you think? I mean, she's out buying drugs. She meets Christian the night before to get pills, right?
Yes,
And there's all this stuff. I mean, I don't want to be insensitive, but let's talk about the dog, that she had a dog she loved. She wouldn't want to leave, right?
yes,
Except for that she had plans and had requested that the family cremate the dog when she died and the dog be buried with her, right?
yes,
So either way, she's going to be somewhere with her dog. That's what she flat said, right? It cremated so I can be with my dog.
yes,
Matter of fact, they did that, right? They cremated and buried it with her.
yes, they did.
But she had talk about needs, plans, having a core, maybe having a job, things like that. I'm not going to ask you questions about suicide and what's in people's minds. Although I guess as a police officer, have you attended or had cases where you dealt with suicides?
Yes,
They come in for all sorts of reasons, don't they?
yes, they do.
Can be when sometimes if you had suicide cases where the person who did it had a good job,
Yes,
had children,
yes,
had plans for the future, like vacations or something.
I don't know.
And you can add in not only as your professional work, but in your personal life. I'll ask you if you know about these things. And I don't want to say the obvious, but sometimes people who commit suicide, the evidence is that they did what they could to look like they weren't going to, so they wouldn't get interdicted. They wouldn't get stopped from doing it, right?
I'm lucky enough to not know that in my personal life.
I wish I was. But one thing we do know is that suicide would be an off-ramp. In other words, let me change this argument. What we've already established is, for a long time, Casey had talked about suicide, right?
Yes,
Talked about it with Meggan. We've been all over that for a long time. But she talked about it with Matt Steller, right?
yes,
She talked about it with Mark and with Kyle.
yes,
She did bring it up with Michelle sometimes, didn't she?
yes,
And here she is getting away with all this stuff, but we've agreed that drugs are escalating, theft is escalating, and Mark is afraid that if she found about that, even he thinks she might commit suicide, right? That's the evidence.
Yes, I still don't remember him saying that, but
Oh, okay. So let's talk about fake suicide. All this evidence, all this unholy pact that Meggan and Casey had through all these years, certainly Casey never said, hey, I'm going to fake it, right?
No.
Certainly Casey never said, hey, I bailed on it. I tried, but I bailed on it, right?
no, I think she would say she fell asleep and stuff, but not bailed, no.
But I mean, she never said she intentionally stopped dying or terminated in a suicide that she was attempting, right?
I don't think so.
But I mean, it's Casey, right? I don't think Casey is a liar in relation to every single person she sees, every single person she talks to, right?
Yes, most people knew a different Casey.
Yeah, the one that she decided to give him, right?
Yes,
There was an interesting, sorry, that's commentary. There was a point that Mark himself talked about the possibility that Casey would have been maybe setting up a circumstance where she could sort of bail on the suicide attempt on the 12th. Do you remember that?
I don't remember Mark saying that.
Let me see if I can find it. Let's talk about Coke.
Oh, yeah, he did. He showed us the Coke in the fridge and he said that she might use that if her blood sugar dropped too low.
So let's play it now that you remember it. You're going and to set it up. This was on the 19th when you were going to go pick up the Phantom box evidence, right?
Yes,
You're going to search the car and did.
yes,
You went out and we already saw the video. You went out and saw the Phantom box and stuff.
yes,
Do you remember you also then talking about the theft and what the family could do to give case numbers and stuff?
yeah, that was at the end of the day, yes.
Yeah,
It was, yeah,
And then let me set this up because this is already in evidence. We know that there was Coke bought the night before by Casey, right?
yes,
And we know it because of, I think, 34 and 35. We've got this grocery list, right?
yes,
Looks like it has goodies and treats like Megan described.
yes,
Okay? And it also says Coke, red Coke. It's in evidence, but it says to make sure to buy the red Coke.
Yeah.
That has sugar in it, doesn't it?
yes,
Not the zero Fanta that she's used to, right?
correct,
Zero Fanta is not going to affect your blood sugar, right?
right,
You need red Coke if you want to, for instance, reverse the trend of your glucose level or something sugary. Wouldn't it be Coke, right?
yes,
Yes, the commercials all suggest it will jolt you out of something, but sugar-wise, that was, you go right in there, and Mark's talking about the fact that the fridge had Coke in it, like a six-pack. You never showed it on a picture or your body camera, or anything, right?
Oh, I believe we saw it. They're bottles. It's like a 6-pack of bottles.
Well, Hales looked in, but it didn't get captured on your body camera, right? We don't know what it looked like, but did you ever see it?
I thought I did, yes. I thought it was bottles. I thought it was a 6-pack of bottles.
It was a 6-pack of bottles, and at that time, Mark doesn't know that there's a grocery list and that she bought it. And as a matter of fact, there's a text from Casey in the script that it discusses it, where Casey tells Megan before she's even coming over that morning, hey, I got you Coke.
Yes,
There's Coke in there, and here's the interest to Mark. Mark notes that the Coke, one of the Cokes is pulled out of the plastic that holds the 6-pack together, right?
no, I don't remember that. I thought it was a cardboard box with 6 bottles in it. So maybe my memory is off.
No, fair. I don't get to know. You didn't take any pictures of it or anything, but let's play the portion of your body cam. And lastly, the significance that Mark thought when he saw that was that, first of all, if Casey wanted to reverse the trend on her blood glucose, she could go drink the Coke, right?
That's what he said, yes.
And he said, he thinks it's interesting that one is pulled out, but because Casey might be jittery or under the influence or in hypoglycemic and feel like she might not be able to pull it out of the plastic if she's going to use it to reverse the glucose, right?
Yeah, I guess I missed that part.
Well, let's play it.
That Fanta drink is what she drank.
Stop there. That's
She never, ever
Sergeant
drank.
Special Agent Hales, right? In
Yes.
the red shirt, red and gray with the stripe,
Yes,
and Mark, of course, showing Special Agent Hales didn't work for your office. He never wore a body camera, right? As far
I
as you
don't,
know.
no, I don't think so.
That Fanta drink is what she drank. And she never ever drank regular Coke. And this shows up in the fridge. And what I'm thinking is that if she had planned to do this, this was her backup plan. If she had injected herself with the insulin and then changed her mind, this Coke was here to,
Is it being published?
Reverse it.
yep. So that's
My
just
fault.
my guess, because she
All
never
right,
bought
stop. Pause
regular
it.
Coke.
Lawyer error. Do you recognize this as representing this scene that we've been talking about?
Yes,
All right. I bet everyone was confused when I was pointing out the color of Special Agent shirt. I'm going to turn it back to the start. And I'm offering for this illustrative purposes. As a matter of fact, now I'm going to move for this clip to be admitted as defendants are.
Ms. Thomas?
Judge, Mark testified. They had the opportunity to ask Mark about it. At this point, what he thought it was for is speculative.
Your Honor, she's talking about an investigation that includes possible suicide, possible assisted suicide, showing that she has evidence that it would be part of a fake suicide that this clip goes to. It's all part of the investigative activity. Therefore, it's not hearsay because it's not offered for the truth of the matter asserted. And in terms of Mark, I could recall him. That doesn't seem to me to make sense, but if that's what the state wants.
My objection isn't hearsay. Sorry if I wasn't clear. It's that Mark is speculating in that particular video about what that Coke may or may not mean. And in fact, we've had evidence already introduced that the Coke was there for Megan.
Well, they can argue that, but this is evidence available to an officer who said she's investigating the various things that might have happened in connection with 12.
For that purpose, I'll overrule the objection. You can play it and I'll receive it.
And that was Q.
Or
That was R. And seek to publish it.
may.
Oh, yes, play it, please. It's published.
That Fanta drink is what she drank. And she never ever drank regular Coke. And this shows up in the fridge. And what I'm thinking is that if she had planned to do this, this was her backup plan. If she had injected herself with the insulin and then changed her mind, this Coke was here to
Reverse it.
Yep. So that's just my guess, because she never bought regular Coke before, and all of a sudden this shows up.
Okay.
And she pulled some, I'm guessing it was her, but pulled one out of here, so it was ready to go, because, you know, if your blood sugar crashes, sometimes you're not coherent to the point that you could actually pull that out of there.
Yeah. Okay.
The government, went through, I don't know how many, it seems like I'm not going through all the texts, but has admitted something like 100 text exchange. I don't want to go through and put those all in their context. I just want to do a specific example. I'm going to take I'm going to take State's Exhibit, I don't have it ready, 57. I am now, thanks. I was just about to ask. If we could pull up State's Exhibit 57 into the text stream. All right, so this, and it's, can we publish it? Oh, it's published. This is one of the texts that they pulled up from April 8th, 2024, right?
Yes.
Starts with, I have had the strongest feeling, ... goes on, right?
Yes.
Then can we scroll through it slowly? Let's just pick out, sorry, I didn't see your text is one of the things. I hope you have a good night at work is one of the bubbles, right?
Yes.
Sneak into the bathroom and take extra talk we're seeing, and things from Casey back. I will try to identify some of the content in this Exhibit 57 by the state. Scrolling all the way, let's just do a couple more pages. That's page 2, it looks like, over in the bottom right. We're going to go through, hope this is your time. Casey, get some rest, sweets, about the time to go, time to die, right?
Are you asking me? Yes.
Blessings, here's one with, she's talking about the blessings. This is your time, go home. This was selected, right?
Yes.
Going down to the very last one. Ending in, I love you, from Meg to Casey, you gotta let go of me and go home, right?
Yes.
Now I want to now address you to something else. if we could take that down and show from the podium to only the witness and say, see that in blue, that is, do you recognize this as a different form of it? Well, this is the extraction report that you look at, right?
I don't recognize that format, but
Um,
it looks like a extraction format, yes.
And you were given extraction reports. I'm not saying you were given this one. I presume you were, but if you didn't, this looks like extraction reports that Sightseeing was able to give you, right?
Yeah, I don't recognize this format. But yes,
And if you look at it, it matches at least documenting the text messages back and forth from Casey to Meggan and vice versa, right?
yes,
And the very first one on this that is highlighted in blue is, I have had the strongest ... right?
yes,
That's the first text in State's Exhibit 57, right?
yes.
Let's go ahead and scroll down to the bottom, very bottom of what I'm showing you. Oh, it's on my computer, dummy. I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and you see text number 20,971 that says, you know, I love you, the biggest, you've got to let go of me and go home.
Yes,
Blue, that is the last text on State's Exhibit 57, right?
yes.
All right. I'm going to ask to publish what is on my screen that you've identified for illustrative purposes, Your Honor.
No objection. She didn't identify it. She said she doesn't recognize this format.
It does the con,
No way to verify that this is accurately representative of the Celebrate. If he wants to use the Celebrate, that would be fine.
so we can talk about it at the bench. This is what was given in discovery. This is an extraction report. It's testified to about. It's got the content this witness has just said of State's 57 that is highlighted in blue.
And this has already been received. Is that correct?
It is not. This is a report that's going to show all the things that were left out of Exhibit 57
The witness just testified she does not recognize this format.
and said it just does have the content though, and that it's messages back and forth between them.
She did say she sees the text that were in the other exhibit that are contained in this.
And I'm only going to talk about text, no other data in here.
But my point is, Judge, that there's no way to verify that what is appearing in this document as the texts that are not in 150 or whatever, 57, has been accurately pulled from Celebrate, because this is not a Celebrate format.
It is, and it goes to wait.
For that purpose, I'll allow it. Objection overruled.
To publish this report,
You may.
right, we already established that he highlighted in blue, as we went through State's 57, are what the jury got out of State 57. There's two missing here that are talking about the communications, right? And then we have the assume you got your meds and went to bed. That was in State 57. And we got through this blue, but then nothing else, like I love you, big Casey girl, the text 20,829, that's not in States 57, is it?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
No,
More stuff in here is happening about nurses and all that back and forth about the subject of Casey continuing to push the pain and the need to die and going, here's one, plan, I've been throwing up blood all morning and I'm gonna, and have nausea. So the nurse has been trying to get a hold of the pharmacy and bring me more IV promethazine and stuff. You see that one, 20,839? The big one in the middle,
836, yes.
836. This is highlighted in orange. It is not in Exhibit 57. She's talking about having a rough day, throwing up blood and stuff again, right?
Yes,
Also not in is this 20,844 that talks about praying
correct.
and asking Meggan to just keep praying, right? I just keep praying, right?
Yes,
This is the, if I promise you I pass, they will call you first thing. She's telling her if she dies, Meggan will be the first one to call, right?
I believe she's talking about one of the nurses calling Megan, isn't she?
But I you think that that's an outgoing is the nurse?
Is she saying that if I die, the nurse will call you?
Okay. So they're talking about the imminent potential of death, right?
Yes.
And then going through all these, more talk about past there. Talk about if you need me, let me know, Casey, right? All right, I might have moved off that too fast.
Yes.
I'm here if you need me. That's that common theme we talked about. She would offer to come, but she didn't say she's on her way, right?
Not in that one, no.
In some, she said, I'll help. She described in her interview that she meant was be there for her, right?
I don't remember that.
You don't
in the
remember talking
interview.
about that word even in the third interview?
Oh, in the third interview. Yeah, she said that she would help her with a lot of things, I believe is what she said.
And it would help her if she was present, that it would help Casey by being present, right?
She didn't tell me that.
Well, the jury has the recording. Going through these messages that aren't in the exhibit. 2009-19, not an exhibit, is Casey again thanking her for checking in all the time and being there for me, right?
Yes.
This is just opposite of what she's telling the family, that Megan's always bothering her about dying, and she tries to avoid Megan, right?
Yes.
Megan say, I'm here for you always. I want to scroll down here. This is one that's outgoing from Megan. I'm sorry, outgoing to Megan, right? It says, I wish I was still living with you, right?
Yes.
Talking about if she's dying alone and doesn't want Megan to think she broke her promise to be with her when she died, right? Megan, I promised you again and again and again, I wouldn't make you do this alone. I feel like I've let you down and broken my promise. Let you die is what they're talking about, right?
I don't know what they're talking about. Sorry.
This is all in the context of her dying, right? That was the purpose of, that was the content of States 57. Do you recall? Do you?
I'm trying to read it.
Oh, sorry.
It just says, I feel like I've let you down and broken my promise to you. I'm not sure what she is referring to. Are you saying they're talking about Megan not being there for her suicide?
I promised you again and again, I wouldn't make you do this alone. The constant conversation they're having is that this is die by suicide, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that she's let her down by not being there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is a part that's left out I want to address to you, because this is, I'm going to have you look at the highlighted portion and just look at it and read it to yourself for a second, because I know it's published. She talks about Kate being alive and being close to dying, right?
Yes.
Now she's addressing to Megan that she's been in a circumstance where she was around somebody, or talking to somebody about dying.
Yes.
And talking to her about that this person, she told her she could see her dad and grandpa in the room as she died, as she thought she was dying, right?
Kate. When Kate,
Yeah.
yes.
You know who Kate is?
I have no idea who Kate is.
So this could be just some fake, right?
As far as I know, I don't know.
But she is addressing specifically being in the room, even when the person who's dying isn't conscious. Yeah, I'll try that, because in the dreams, it almost seems like they are coming to get me. They're so hard to explain because they're so weird, but they feel so real. But was she in and out of it? Says Megan, asking about in or out of death, right? Or was she completely with it? I know my dad has seen people in the room when they are about to go home. That is not very typical, right? And she says back that she had learned that even when you're in a coma, she could hear me at the hospital talking to her. And she tried everything she could to let me know she could hear me, but she physically couldn't move her body to let me know. That's what Casey is talking to Megan about, even being there for her or someone when they're unconscious, right?
In that text, I think in the other one, she was referring to spirits in the room.
Right. So a bunch of spiritual
Yeah.
stuff, being there, being present when someone is dying, even when it's apparent that they're in a coma or unconscious, right?
Yeah, she's saying that that's what Kate said.
Right. We can take that down. Good. Oh, yes, I am. All right, I just want to return then to your investigative theme. I want to turn to, I think, what you've acknowledged, that you started with Meggan Sundwall in this investigation, in this case, telling her that even though she made herself look really bad in texts and interviews and deleting texts, the case had to be proven with evidence.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I've got a clip of some of the things you said. They would come in the third interview that is already in evidence that the jury will ultimately be able to hear in total.
Council table.
Sorry, here we go. I don't know why there's no sound.
Casey had a problem with the truth.
Do you recognize that as
Fair enough.
Special Agent Hale's voice?
Yes, I do.
Like Kylie made it clear, and that's been one hard thing for me is because I have been so involved in Casey's life that when Kylie made those, I don't know if you'd say threats, but she made it very clear that if I didn't leave and I didn't get out, that she would call the police. Because I don't want to look like what Kylie is accusing me of. She said that. She said, I know that you gave her something to kill her, and I'm going to find out what it is, and I'm going to destroy you. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, hi, Casey told me that you have in the past. And I had, which obviously she did, but I mean, what would I poison her with? Arsenic or, I mean, this is, I'm sorry, but this makes me angry. But I'm fine, doesn't prove anything.
You went over to her house specifically on the 12th because this was the plan to end her life with insulin. Text messages don't lie.
Well, right, of course I'm gonna delete messages when Kylie tells me that she believes that I poisoned her sister and that she's gonna find out what I did and make me pay. But that doesn't mean I helped her. Like, she had told me, I mean, have you read our text messages where she says, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me, you're my best friend,
Yes.
I mean, that is the person that I thought I was for her. Obviously I wasn't. But I'm not looking at it, when I'm in this situation, I'm not looking at it as like, oh, I need to protect myself from the law because I didn't think that that's what the situation was. Like, that is not, I know that would be your go-to, what you would think, but not me. And obviously, has this changed everything? Yeah.
Perception. That's all it is perception.
Because I don't want Kylie to ever, I mean, that scared me. It scared me when Kylie threatened me like that. Wouldn't you think so? Like
Did you inject insulin into the port on August the 12th while you were there?
No, I
Yes or
did
no?
not.
Okay. If in your mind, if you thought there was this other thing, you wanted to relieve her of her misery, you can't do that. You only never watch a movie. Clear. And let's be honest. You were there. You knew this was the end. This was the end of your last day.
I was there to spend time with her on her last day.
Yeah. So, and that goes back to that very blunt question I asked you. You said no. That's great. But if there's evidence to prove otherwise, we have a problem. Fair enough? And if there's not, I'll ride off into the sunset. And if we can prove through evidence that you did.
No, it's terrible that, from your point of view, right? Like, I mean, you trusted her, she was your best friend, and this is what's happening. And just, I don't even know what to say about it. Like, none of us do, you know? Like, it's all shocking.
The next stage of this is going to be major evidence. And there's nothing, I mean, I don't have to make it any softer.
That's August 29th, right?
Yes,
When when the government charged her and you arrested her nearly 8 months later, didn't have any DNA, right?
no,
Any DNA that incriminated her, right?
no,
You didn't have any fingerprints that incriminated her, correct?
no,
You didn't have any medical doctor on the 20th. You didn't even have Masteller's records yet, right?
no,
You had no expert or medical doctor that had told you that